It's Medical Perspective time again, though with Dr. Peter Glidden. That's me, your steadfast advocate for health. You know, I'm watching the Olympics now, and I heard an advertisement, right? There's all these drug commercial advertisements during the Olympics. And look, it's not the drug, it's how it's used. Thank God for Novocaine, right? Every time I'm in the dentist chair, I thank God for Novocaine. No kidding. But there's ads now for we're going to beat type 2 diabetes, and type 2 diabetes, your days are numbered, and blah, 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 blah. And quite frankly, no, you're not going to do that because you haven't been able to do it so far. It's getting worse under the care of conventional medicine. Type 2 diabetes is getting worse. It's not getting better. And there's not a cure in sight because conventionally trained medical doctors are trained in the wrong perspective on how the human body works. So, for instance, when somebody has high blood pressure, instead of figuring out what's wrong in the body to make the body increase its blood pressure and then attempt to cure that, they just deliver medications which bring the blood pressure down artificially. It's better than dying from a heart attack, but wouldn't it be prudent to attempt to cure the condition? Well, medical doctors are not trained in how to do that. With them, it's damage control, damage control, damage control. And, you know, look, thank God for the sterile technique and surgery, and there's a room and a place for medicine. There is. But when it comes to diabetes, they have not a clue of what's going on, and nor will they ever be able to figure out how to come to grips with this situation. And, you know, interestingly enough, ironically enough, years ago, a medical doctor figured it out, but was completely ignored. 30 points, this according to the Center for Disease Control, by the way, 30.3 million diabetics in the United States. 1 out of 4 don't even know that they have diabetes. 84.1 million people are pre-diabetic, and 90% of those don't know that they are pre-diabetic. It is an epidemic, out of control, right? It's a bus that's gone over a cliff into a swamp that's on fire. Type 2 diabetes, while the conventionally trained medical doctors have been in control of the development and the delivery of medicine. Are the naturopathic doctors in control of the development and delivery of medicine? Are the chiropractors, the acupuncturists, the Ayurvedic practitioners, herbalists, homeopaths, any of those people in the front seat? No. We have all been categorically thrown off of the bus of medicine. For more than 100 years now, we haven't had a free medical market, and so you have been socialized to believe that alternative medicine is just that, which is tantamount to my trying to convince you that the only real type of dog is a German Shepherd, and every other dog is an alternative dog. Well, the only real type of medicine is MD-directed, pharmaceutical-centrist, allopathic, reductionistic medicine, and every other type of medicine is an alternative medicine. That's what you've been socialized to believe, and it's inaccurate. More to the point, it's a flippin' lie. Type 2 diabetes, right? It's worse. 95% in adults. Type 2 diabetes accounts for 95% of all diagnosed cases of diabetes, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better as time goes by. Thank you very much, bus driver, MD. Now, interestingly enough, this gentleman, Dr. Walter Mertz, had a lot to do with our understanding of how the body metabolizes blood sugar. And this was in 1957. This an obituary from the LA Times. Let me read to you what it says. Walter Mertz, 79, discovered a key to insulin's efficacy. Walter Mertz, a government nutrition researcher, MD, by the way, who was one of the first to report that chromium, the essential mineral chromium, is a trace element needed to make insulin work effectively, has died. He was 79. He died of cancer. One of life's, well, whenever a medical doctor dies from cancer, I just roll my eyes. He researched vitamins and minerals for the U.S. Department of Agriculture for 21 years, retiring in 1993 as director of the Human Nutrition Research Center of the Agricultural Research Service. Say that 10 times fast. He conducted his early research at the National Institutes of Health and the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research. Mertz edited the authoritative text, I quote, "Trace Elements in Human and Animal Nutrition," end quote. He was co-author of 3 editions of the government's recommended dietary allowances and the National Academy of Sciences publication, Diet, Nutrition, and Cancer. Well, that didn't serve him too well. One of the first reports to associate diet with human cancers. His early chromium research was performed at the National Institute of Health, where in 1957 he and Kenneth Schwartz isolated a compound extracted from pork kidney that they called glucose tolerance factor. 2 years later, chromium was identified as the active component of glucose tolerance factor. The compound binds insulin to cell membranes and helps to regulate blood sugar metabolism. So what this means is, even if your pancreas is making sufficient amounts of insulin, the insulin has trouble, or it's impossible for the insulin to bind to the cell wall to open the door on the cell to let sugar in if there's no chromium. And chromium is an essential trace mineral. The body can't make it. It needs to be imported. Body can't make chromium, can't make calcium, can't make sulfur. There are 90 essential nutrients that the body can't make. It needs them, can't make them. So, in 1957, Dr. Walter Mertz tells us that the body needs chromium in order to have efficient metabolism of blood sugar. And now, let's see, 60 years later, 61 years later now, 61 years later, does your medical doctor know anything about chromium supplementation? Has your medical doctor, who's treating you for type 2 diabetes or pre-type 2 diabetes, said anything to you at all about, or even if you're insulin-dependent diabetic, even mentioned the word chromium once? No. It's because we don't have a free medical market. And, corruption follows monopolies. So the pharmaceutical industry is not going to be interested in researching or advertising or advocating the use of a trace mineral that you don't need a prescription for in order to help you prevent or get over your diabetic condition. This, of course, is what happens inside of any monopolized portion of society. And we've had a monopoly here for over 100 years, and it's been so long that most people don't even know that there is a medical monopoly. They just think, well,